Part 3, FYI of what guys should know, and also this is informational and helpful for girls. Wow, this has been a journey. I've gotten some interesting responses in the different places I have shared, and my part 2 video, first off, is a little long and maybe a little rambly, so I could have maybe condensed it a little, but TikTok was kind of suppressing it for some reason. I don't know why, but it was like saying it wasn't eligible for the FYP and then saying something was wrong with it. I had to go through this whole appeals process. So it's got like 10, 15 views or something, maybe 20 by now, which is ridiculous. So I'm thinking of posting these instead, maybe on my YouTube. I also could post these on my other account. I just have so much more people over here. So I know this account is supposed to be more spiritual based, but I have been acknowledging that the spiritual side of me is just one part of my life and just kind of going with the flow and acknowledging that like those that love me are going to love me whatever I share, or they're going to like what they like. Nobody's going to like everything that somebody, well, I guess I could, but I don't expect everybody to like everything. So I'm still trying to figure out where to post what, but this is part 3, FYI, for what guys should know when it comes to dating and other guys sabotaging and getting involved. So an angel, which I now know I really have, an angel reached out to me in response to one of the other parts of the series, and he said, I have another perspective to offer, but definitely, don't want to be named. I'm like, okay, that's totally fine. But gave me permission to use the information he provided. Deep breath, everyone. This is the information he provided. He said that essentially he feels guilty because of a situation he participated in that he feels like wasn't so nice. Upon retrospect, realizing he probably shouldn't have done that. So this is sort of him trying to make amends somewhat, but he also doesn't want to like publicly be known because he like doesn't want people involved to like know what happened. Because he feels guilty about it. So he said that he was interested in this girl. She was kind of brought into a friend circle, and he said she was very attractive, and he quickly realized he was not the only one interested. He said it was multiple guys in the same kind of friend group. It was someone's like cousin or coworker. Can't remember what he said, but it was like a friend of a friend or a relative of a friend. Somehow this girl ended up in their orbit, and it was kind of like a shakeup because all of a sudden everyone's like, wait, who's that? So there was like something to this girl. He said it wasn't even really his typical type, but there was something about like her energy, that she was like, he said she was really not necessarily bubbly, but that she was like, how did he put it? Seemed like someone who just didn't give up at what anybody would do or would say, not easily impressed. That's what he said. He said for some reason it got him. Like she was not easily impressed. So also FYI to the girls, apparently guys are into that. But he said she wasn't easily impressed, and she was kind of not necessarily rude, but she was not someone who was just gonna go, oh yeah, and like laugh and smile to everything that people said. Like she was kind of like, okay, kind of flat a little bit, like even keel, monotone, whatever. So then if she did respond stronger to something, it was more authentic. It felt more real. So he said what it led to is kind of in a growing situation where in the times that everyone would hang out and get together, after class, after work, whatever, he said that he realized that they were almost competing with trying to get a reaction out of her, trying to get her to show interest or something. He said that he felt like he was making some progress and he was just like thinking about this girl nonstop. He said she was just like living rent free in his head, and he really started to think, I'm really falling for her, and I actually feel like we have something here. Like he thought, maybe I'm delusional, but maybe she feels it too. So he was like, I'm going to do something. Like I'm going to say something, because he knew that multiple of the guys were interested, and everyone was kind of like, I'm going to go for her. I'm going to go for her. I'm going to go for her, to the point that he said at this point, it was like, may the best man win, because every guy there basically liked her. And this was a decent sized group. So he didn't say the exact number, but it gave an impression of like 7 to 8 different guys, maybe more, who were all interested in her. So he said he realized, I'm not just interested in her, like, physically, like maybe some of the guys are, some guys are like that. He said he was interested in like something real. He felt like I could really see myself truly dating this girl. And he was like, some of these other guys, they probably just want what a lot of guys want because she's also beautiful. He's like, so it's like my duty. This is what he said. He said he felt like it was his duty to like step ahead of these other guys and try to get his foot in the door with her. So she didn't end up with one of these other dudes that maybe didn't have as good of intention, and he seriously wanted to date her. Well, he started getting close to her, and they actually started talking in private messages and bonding. Fast forward, a couple weeks go by, and he finally says, I know that we've been getting closer and that it's been, under the guise of friendship, but I have to tell you that I feel more. And if you're interested in more, I would like to take you out or whatnot. And he said he held back as long as he possibly could, trying to like make sure she would actually be interested. But he said he had to just shoot his shot. He couldn't wait and wonder any longer. He said her response shocked him, but didn't shock him at the same time. There was a guy in the group that was really, really attractive. This guy was one of those people that's you would consider like the strong, silent type, kind of attractive. Some people maybe thought didn't have as much going on there. This is his words, but in his eyes, the guy actually was nice and actually deeper and smarter than people would assume, because he seemed more like a meathead, super athletic, type of guy, but that he was more just kind of quiet. He kept to himself, but he would open up more in private situations. So sometimes the guys would rag on him and like make fun of him and kind of make jokes like as if he was dumb. Well, apparently the girl had reached out to that guy in a private message to tell him that he felt like the other guy's behavior of him wasn't great. Whereas that guy kind of responded, yeah, like I've actually been considering like leaving the friend group because I feel like people don't treat me very well and they think that I'm just dealing with it because I'm staying around. And he said to the first guy that we're talking about here, the original guy that told me the story, she told him that this led to them talking all day and all night for like 5 days straight. And it led to them meeting up for like coffee or waffles, like, well, some maybe coffee, but anyway, for waffles or what, something like that. Waffles or pancakes, can't remember, but breakfast foods. So they end up meeting for, I think it was waffles. Anyway, they end up meeting up. And it's very quickly, very clear they're a thing. They're going to be a thing, not just physical, not just short term. They're an item basically. This is where things. So essentially, this guy and the original guy that reached out to me, this guy said that what he did was is he went to message that other guy privately after she told him this, and basically said, I have been talking to her for 3 weeks, getting very close and very intimate, and basically said to the guy that they were developing something and that maybe she does this with everyone, like the guy is not special. Fast forward, the guy decides that the girl is playing him and leaves the group, blocks everybody and blocks the girl, leaves the group completely. She's crying to the first guy, not knowing what happened, but that guy sabotaged it because he wanted her. She didn't even like him. She liked the other guy. So essentially, this is like a cautionary tale. He feels like things go bad in his life because he did what he did, because even though him and that girl talked for weeks, none of it was beyond friends. And he knows that. And he knows that he exaggerated the situation to the other guy. And he knows that what he did was wrong. And he said like people haven't even been able to get in touch with that guy, or that they hadn't for a long time or something. I don't know if there's any updates since, but he basically said like he feels like when bad things happen to him, it's like because of what he did, because he knew that that guy, not only was he an attractive guy, which already makes people like jealous of someone just naturally, he was also like disciplined and took care of himself and stuff. So like he put work into the way he looked. He wasn't just naturally good looking, he also was disciplined. Plus, he was judged, people called him dumb and all these things, and he actually knew that it wasn't right how he was being treated. And he knew that people were being harsh and mean and cruel, and he knew that the guy was hurt by this. And he still was occasionally participating, even though he said he was trying not to, and he knew that it kind of wasn't right and was thinking, well, maybe if it's harmless jokes, but he knew sometimes it was going a little far, and he had thought that it might be affecting that guy mentally. So he had spent time with him one-on-one and gotten close to him and had seen other sides to him and knew that he actually was a deep person, a caring person, a smart person, and that he was deeply misunderstood and treated poorly by a lot of people, because of honestly the way he looked, the reverse of the pretty privilege. I mean, I guess it happens with women, it happens with men. It's a thing that happens. When I was younger, I worked at a gym at the front desk, and I ended up being like a part-time yoga instructor for a period of time. And there were guys that worked at that gym who were very, very fit and very attractive, but partly why they were so attractive was because of their discipline and the hard work that they put in to take care of themselves and eat right and whatnot and like live a healthy lifestyle. Almost all of them had experienced people treating them badly at one point or another, considering them to be like a meathead or like, not having much going on upstairs. And it's weird because people think it just happens to girls, but it doesn't. And then people also think that it doesn't happen to girls to the degree that it does, but it does. I've experienced it, and I know other girls that have experienced it, and I'm not everybody's type. Girls that are maybe more conventionally people's type, they get it even more than I've gotten it. But I've gotten a lot of hate from people. Like, interestingly, how that guy said that he originally didn't even feel like the girl was necessarily like the most attractive ever, and wasn't even necessarily like his type, but it was something with her energy that made him like her and everyone else like her. I've experienced more of that, where even if people say, like, I've had people straight up say, like, I normally won't date someone who is more on the curvy side or plus side, like, because I'm more the mid-sized curvy, leaning to plus. Like, I was leaning more plus, now I'm leaning more mid-size. Now that because I had gained a bit of weight, but I've lost that weight again, back down to where I was. But my point is like there are a lot of people that will lust over me because of my curves, but not necessarily want to invest in me in a long-term, for a long-term relationship, because maybe I'm not the conventionally considered preferred type, or, because I'm sorry, but we all know that like men date for other men's approval, unfortunately, or that's part of it. Not all men, obviously, but it does happen. But anyway, so the point is like I've experienced that with guys wanting me, but not wanting to always be publicly with me, which is it's a sad thing to experience. But I've also experienced a lot of guys who would gladly publicly date a more curvy, full-figured woman. However, guys sort of assuming that like because they're super, super into me and I'm super, super like the guys that I am their type, they almost like assume that I'm just going to be so thankful that they want to be with me, like that I'm just going to like accept them. Like but also because I'm so curvy, so I give off a more sexual energy. Whereas if you look at another girl in a bikini, it might look attractive, but not as much sexual, whereas mine looks easily sexual because I'm more curvy. I get people constantly just saying sexual things or, asking me sexual things or wanting to be sexual with me. And it's not something that I typically lean into, unless I like someone. For me, being like physically involved, like I have to have a deeper connection with someone. I can't just do that with anybody. And I'm not judging anybody else, but anyway, so I get an overwhelming amount of like people being that way towards me. And part of the reason why I've become more bold about just sharing my curvy body as is in a bikini or whatever is because this was happening regardless of what I was sharing. Regardless of what I was sharing, regardless of what I was posting, I was still getting dudes wanting what I have that see the curvy body and just think sexual, whatever. So I'm kind of just owning it. And if people think I'm dumb or they think I'm only worth sexual, whatever, that's not my problem. That's their own internalized what. But my point is, it happens to curvy women. It happens to people of color getting fetishized. It happens to people that are considered the conventional beauty standard. It happens to really attractive men that aren't always the devil. I mean, people like assume like, oh, if he's super attractive, like girls will say this. They'll say super attractive. He knows he's attractive, so he's probably doing whatever, whatever. Sometimes that can be the case, but it's not going to always be the case. There are some really attractive guys out there that really want something serious and stable with someone, and they really want like a genuine connection and commitment. So the point is, be careful how you categorize people before getting to know them. Don't just jump on the bandwagon. The more I used to embrace my girly side back in the day, I felt like the groups I was around, they had internal misogyny more than they knew. So if I was super girly and super bubbly and happy and cutesy and into girly things and girly clothes, it was really, really picked on. It was really, really made fun of. And that can happen around certain girls that are threatened by a really feminine woman for whatever reason. Sometimes lesbian groups, it can happen, and not all, but it did happen to me quite a bit with a lot of my lesbian friends, which I'm bisexual. I love everybody, but it's just an interesting thing that I experienced because for them, they wanted to be with someone that had those feminine traits, yet me having them naturally led them to make fun of me and also kind of paint me as dumb, which is weird because they knew me. It's like they knew I wasn't. But if I behaved in a way that wasn't overtly tough and masculine, I was treated as dumb or vapid for being soft or sweet or pretty, which I mean, screw that now. Now, I mean, yes, I'm a tough bitch. I've been through a lot, but the mask is off. Like, I'm also a sweet, cuddly bitch, like, who has multiple degrees and can talk about all kinds of subjects. And I don't care if people question if I'm deep or question if I'm intelligent. That's like really weird for you to just assume that. Like, I can't tell you how many people have been like, oh my God, you're actually smart. You're actually deep. You're actually interesting. Like, I'm sorry, is that a compliment? That's so rude. Just stop. Just stop. I'm sure I've said dumb things in the past, but we all have. Okay. But if you've said those dumb things, you should stop. Or I'm encouraging that you